Hi guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about how to pick a school for medical billing and coding. If you are trying to pick from an online school or if you're thinking about going to college, what are some of the options? If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. I have been a medical coder for over 10 years. Now, the reason that I created my channel was to help all of you, if you are brand new, or even if you're a veteran medical coder, knowing some of the things that I know, I think may help you. So if you want more of this content, I hope you'll hit that subscribe button, like, and share. Okay, so let's get started. All right, you want to become a medical biller and coder, but there are so many options, right? And like, how do you choose and what school do you go to and do you even have to go to school? I will say this about medical coding. You don't have to go to a traditional school. This is something that you can study on your own. And I do have a video about how to or what books to independently study with. And I'll leave the link down in the description box below. But if you are wanting to get formal training, which is normal because it is a lot, you're talking about having to learn medical terminology, anatomy and physiology, plus all the rules, plus how to code. It's a very tall order. So if you're trying to think of whether to go, to a trade school, and by trade school, I mean trade school, vocational school, technical school. Somebody asked me once, is technical school the same as a trade school? Yes, it is the same. Just different, depending on where you are. Different people call it different things, but it's relatively the same thing. So the thing that you want to make sure that the school is training you for is either the American Health Information Management Association or the American Academy of Professional Coder credentials. I will also leave a video breaking down the description of the different credentials in the description box below. When you are trying to pick and decide which school to go to, the thing that I will say is this. If you are trying to look for a cheap program, and this cheap program maybe does not train you for a HEMA or AAPC, or it is saying that we will train you, but we will also give you this other certificate, and it is from another association, I want you guys to consider something. When you are a medical coder, they are looking for a HEMA and AAPC credentials. I say this many times and I still get this question. Well, what if I have this other credential? Or what about this other credential? When you're looking at the job listings, and I do have medical coding job listings explained, and I talk about billing positions and I talk about medical coding positions. When I'm looking for these, they are looking for a HEMA and AAPC credentials. This is an industry standard. So there's going to be other certificate programs out there that may sound really good, but think about the value of that certificate. And it may be dressed up in a way that sounds attractive, and well, maybe this is a good one because of the name of it. I want you guys to do your research. Look at all of the options that particular credential is offering, and then make your decision that way. Because going the cheap route does not necessarily mean that you're going to get the best education or that you're going to get education that is sufficient enough to help you to learn this. There's a lot of things to learn. And in the beginning, when you're in school, you need to have access to a really good instructor, especially if you're paying out of pocket for it. If you are at a trade school and they say, well, we do have this instructor. When I was going through and having to pick the school that I was going to, and the school that I am going to is no longer there anymore, because these trade schools are businesses. At the end of the day, it is a business. And yes, they are going to say, well, we're here to educate you, but they're looking at a population of adults that wants to go back to school to change their life. And sometimes it is a hard sell, because adults don't always want to go back to school. Some people had a very hard time in school. And for all the nerdy that I am, my hard time in school was with the other students. I mean, that was where it was, because when you're in school, it's hard being a nerd when you're in school, especially from my generation. It wasn't easy because people pick on you and stuff like that. But I didn't care. I was escaping in the books. So, but anyway, that was just me. I know. Get back to the subject. All right. So it's a hard sell to sometimes bring adults back into, into the world of education. And then some adults will say, well, I have kids, I have a job. And so some of these schools market towards, oh, you're a working adult. Okay, well, we have this program and you can go, it's very short. It's 5 months. And I will say this, I do not recommend programs that are less than 6 months. If you want to take learning medical coding seriously, go for programs that are 9 or 12 or 18 months, because that's going to give you sufficient enough time to really learn. Some people have already a medical background, like they're coming from being a nurse or maybe a CNA or a medical assistant, and they have some background already. You're already ahead because right? Anatomy, physiology, medical terminology. And that is what gets people in the beginning. Because we have to have that base foundational knowledge. I didn't have that going into this. I did not have that. I was so far away from medical, it wasn't even funny. And when you're coming in with some knowledge, yes, you can go through a quicker program, but I have seen many nurses struggle to learn medical coding because not everybody can learn straight from a book. And most of these programs, you are going to be on your own. The program that I picked, I was literally sat in front of a computer and said, here, learn. And when I was like, okay, some of it was difficult. I mean, some of it was hard even for me, but I had a really good support system with my mom and I studied a lot. We did have one coder. He was a coder, but I don't really talk about this guy because I don't know. This guy was creepy. Okay. He was creepy. I will say that, but he did come in to lecture us a few days, not even a few days. It was like a day, every couple of weeks or so. He would come in and talk about coding and, maybe he would come in and explain things. And when he first met me, he was just like, oh, you're new. I haven't seen you here before. And I said, yeah. And then they introduced us and they said, he's the instructor that comes in and talks to people. And he has classes and things, but just his demeanor was just really weird. And he was just very creepy. And so he was very fascinated that I was getting through the program so quickly. He's like, you shouldn't even be on medical terminology. Why are you this far? You haven't completed all the other courses, have you? And I had completed all of them. And so he said, people don't normally get to this point until they're months in, but I had made it through the program very quickly. And because of that, I was very accelerated. So he just, I don't know. And a lot of the things that he says in retrospect, when I think about the things that he says, it was just very, very generic. It wasn't detailed. It definitely was not detailed. And that's the thing. When you are signing up at a trade school, ask the trade school, is the person a credentialed medical coder? Are they actively coding? And if they are not, how long ago were they actively coding? Try to talk to the instructor, because if you are going to be paying for this program out of your own pocket, which I have said, there are alternatives. If you are in a low-paying job, you can try to go to your workforce office and get involved with the WIOA program, which is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. Plenty of funds out there, guys. And there's plenty of funds for all different types of people from all walks of life. So be sure to do your research. And I'll try to leave some videos down in the description box. But when you're putting money out of pocket, make sure that what you're getting for your money is of value. One of the trade schools that I was checking to see if I wanted to go to, they said, well, we have an instructor here. And I said, oh, okay, well, what are their qualifications for instruction? Are they a teacher or what? And they go, well, they have a bachelor's degree, but they don't have their credential. It lapsed or something like that. I can't remember how it went, but they weren't an active medical coder, and they didn't have their credential. They just had a degree. And I'm like, even me, that I wasn't even in the field yet, even I knew that was not right. So I was like, okay, next school, but you have to make sure that the people that you are going to get instruction from are going to be available if you have questions. I have a lot of viewers that will write in and they will say, well, I tried to reach out to my instructor, and there's just so many students, and there was no answer, and they don't have time to help me. If you've invested all this time, and even if you're not investing money, maybe you're in there because of a grant, and if you're investing your time, you need to make sure that your time is being maximized and that you are getting the help that you need. This is a very technical field. You have to have really good reading comprehension, and there is no negotiation on that. You have to have really good reading comprehension. If your reading comprehension is not so good, you've got to work on it if you want to do this. And you'll learn things like medical terminology, anatomy, and physiology. But having somebody there to have access to, and yes, will help you, because I've heard of some really good programs where they said that the teacher was very interactive. And when the teacher is interactive and helping you and giving you those critical thinking skills is huge in this. And if an instructor is not helping you in that and like challenging you to learn how to look things up, or they're not just reading from a book, you don't want somebody that's going to be like that, just proctoring from a book. You want somebody that's going to be very engaged. You want somebody that really loves medical coding. And there's others out there that really do love medical coding. And hopefully they are your instructor. If not, try to look for another school. There's also the online programs with both associations. Now, I always recommend those because that takes, it's a lot less, it's a lot cheaper than going to a trade school. It is going to take the middleman out. So there's no salesman trying to sell you this program. A few weeks ago, I was approached by a man that has like a marketplace for different types of trade schools, right? And he was trying to get me to promote this program. Well, this one program was very accelerated, and he's like, oh, yeah, it's 5 months. But this is an accelerated program. What they were offering was not ideal. And as far as like what they were offering the students, and he was trying to dress this credential up like it was, something that was so valuable, when I know better. And I know better because I've been in the industry. And I was explaining to him, I said, do you know that there's 2 major medical coding associations? And he's like, well, there's this other one. And he's just trying to dress it up. And he's saying, this is for working adults. And this is a wonderful opportunity for them. And I'm listening to his speech and I'm thinking, this isn't right. This isn't ideal for somebody that is trying to maybe change their careers, and they're going to get this accelerated education and really not have the proper tools. And I even asked him, what is the syllabus? What are they teaching in this program? And he couldn't even answer that. So that's another thing too. What is this program teaching you? How in-depth is it? These are questions that you need to ask when you're going to these schools. And don't rush whatever you do. Do not rush into getting signed up for these programs. If they start pressuring you and telling you, oh, well, we have this really good deal and it's only going to last, a couple of days. Trade schools have sales all the time. Do not be pressured into, going right away to sign up and you don't know what you're signing up for. Many people have written me and said, I am so upset because I spent thousands of dollars on something that there was no worth in it. When you choose the right place to go to school for medical billing and coding, it is going to go a long way. And it's going to be the start of how you feel about this industry. If your start is, littered with trying moments and people that are not upfront with you, that's what you're going to associate this career field with. And that is not what this career field is about. And that's why I created my channel too, because I wanted to have a place where people could find out the truth and find out real information and find out real talk. Because I say things that are upsetting to some people and they don't like what I say, but I would rather be upfront and honest with you guys and not sugarcoat anything, because that's just how I am. And I say these things because I care, and I want to make sure that you guys are going to get the value for your money and for the start of your career, because when you do get into this, it is amazing the things that you learn. And this is a constant learning process. So if you are raising kids and you're saying, well, I don't have time for this, and I don't have time to go to a trade school, so I'm going to go to this really quick online school, you're going to find yourself frustrated if you're not getting the support from that online school. And the online programs with AHEMA and AAPC, they do, it is basically self-paced and you are teaching yourself, but there is the community of other medical coders. And I'm not sure about AHEMA, but I do know AAPC is very, there's a lot of people back and forth on there. So it's I think they're like, the discussion board is pretty good. AHEMA has their discussion board as well, but I haven't been to their online program for medical coding, so I don't know how that goes. But I still recommend either association online programs. So check them out, and I will leave the link for both associations down in the description box below, so that way you guys can check that out and see what it is that you want to do. Now, if you're looking for help, of course, I offer tutoring, and I do have my own Patreon channel. I will leave the link for my Patreon channel down in the description box below. I have exercises that are like coding questions, and I have scenarios, and I do crossword puzzles to help with medical terminology. And of course, I talk about myself on my Patreon channel, and you have access to all that for $1 per month. I do have higher pledge levels that do include one-on-one tutoring, but if you don't want to do that, just contact me for my rates and we'll go from there. But like I said, I really enjoy medical coding, and I know that it's a lot in the beginning, and it's so much of like, oh, what do you do? What do you do? As long as you stick with AHEMA or AAPC, either getting the CCS or the CCA or the CPC with AAPC, then you're good. Those three are the ones that a lot of people start with, okay? So that is what you need to know. If you stick with those three, any one of them, you don't have to get all three. You're not going to get all three. Just get one. Then that's a good start, okay? But your education is really important. So make sure that you're getting the value for your dollar when you are signing up for these schools, or whether you decide to go to a college, if the college program is training you for like the CCS or the CPC. I've heard of some college programs training people for the CPC. Make sure that it is worth it. Make sure that you talk to the people before you sign on that dotted line, and you have every right to ask questions, because they should have no problem answering your questions. And there's some places that do offer like externships. Externships is a really great way to make connections and also to fill up your resume. That's something else to consider. Not all places offer that, and not all places, some places will say that, oh yes, we'll give you an externship, but they won't give you an externship in medical coding. Maybe they'll give you an externship in something else. But so always make sure that you ask, is this externship for medical coding? All right, so that's my message for today, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. This is going to be a nice long weekend. I hope you all enjoy. I will be back on Monday, and if you have any questions for Q&A Tuesday, please comment below or shoot me an email. I will leave my email address down in the description box below. So I will go ahead and wrap this one up, but thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. Bye.